My name is Eugene Scott. I'm a host here at Axios Live, and I'm excited to be here with you today. Before we get started, I want to give a big thank you to our sponsor, the Progressive Policy Institute, for their partnership to make this event possible. If you could give them an applause, that would be awesome. And so without further ado, I want to bring a few of the folks affiliated with the Institute to the stage to continue this conversation about the working class. First, I'm going to bring up Will Marshall. He's president of the Progressive Policy Institute. David Evans, general secretary of the Labor Party, and Jonathan Ashworth, chief executive of Labor Together, former member of Parliament for Leicester South. Thank you guys for being here. Great. Just have a seat. We're just going to ask you a few questions about some of the work you all are doing in the UK. And so the title of this event, as you know, is Winning the Working Class. And I'll start with a pretty easy question. What are the core decisions to swing the voter pendulum for this decisive bloc?
Could I start? That's not an easy question.
Okay.
That's a tough question, but I can only speak from our experience in the UK, where in 2019 we lost catastrophically. We went down to our worst defeat since 1935, principally because the support with working class voters was fractured. We lost their support, their confidence, their trust. So in a very short space of time, under Keir Starmer's leadership, we had to recover that trust and confidence. Now, that had to start with, first of all, understanding, listening, making sure that we were speaking about the issues that working class voters were concerned about rather than the issues we were concerned about. We went all around the world, including speaking to our friends here, to learn about the success stories. One of the places we went to was Germany, where Olaf Scholz had won a victory for the left in Germany. And one of the key things we took away from that was the use of the word respect. Working class voters did not feel that we respected them. So we borrowed the livery and the look and the word respect that was core to Olaf Scholz's victory in Germany. And that was the starting point for us to rebuild that trust and confidence. You'll see here, these are our first steps, Keir Starmer's first steps in government, which are speaking to the issues that working class voters were concerned about in a way that was realistic and practical, not pie in the sky, not lavish promises that couldn't be kept, but principally drilling down on cost of living, which was the core issue. Safety and security. Working class voters in particular do not feel safe because they have lost out when the economy crashes. It's working class voters that pay the price. Similarly, they don't feel secure in their communities. We had to make sure that we were speaking for them and with them rather than for issues that were maybe not central to their concerns. I'll stop there, but it's a big question, a tough question, not an easy one.
Let me ask a follow-up then. What do you think is the origin of the disconnect between lawmakers and working class voters?
Okay, I'll pick that one up. And can I just start by saying I'm absolutely delighted to be here at the convention. My first time at a US convention. And the energy here is immense. And we're all really excited about the way in which your new nominee has really shaken up the race, and it is fascinating as an observer of election campaigns to be watching how your rival, President Trump, clearly does not know how to deal with her. He's having these tantrums on every platform he speaks on. And look, I'm here as a Labour strategist, not as a representative of Labour government. And you know, the UK government will obviously work with anyone the American people put in the White House because the special relationship is so solid. I'm just saying that for any diplomats in the audience who are worried about where I'm taking this. But as a Labour strategist, we all want you to beat this guy, not just for you guys, but for the world. So please beat him. Please beat him. So how do you beat him? I think I want to come with a warning for you, but also for something for you to think about. Look at what's happening globally. Incumbent governments are losing. And they're losing because we've been through a pandemic, we've been through an energy crisis, we've been through a cost of living crisis, and working class voters have felt disillusioned. They felt governments are not on their side because, frankly, their paychecks are not paying the bills. Their paychecks are not putting the same food on the table that it used to put on the table 4 or 5 years ago. So the first thing is you need an economic policy which understands and recognises that people are struggling, and you need a plan to cut costs. You've had that plan, inflation is stabilising, and that you really need to run on that. You need to be telling people that you've got a plan to put more money in people's pockets, and that's what we did with the Labour Party in the United Kingdom, which was a massive turnaround. 4 or 5 years ago, in our last general election, we lost our industrial heartlands, what we call the Red Wall, because remember, in the UK, we are the red party, not the blue party. So we lost the equivalent of our blue states to the Conservatives 4 years ago, and people thought this was a long-term realignment. We lost it on the economy. We won it back by focusing on these bread and butter issues. The second thing is people want fairness. The immigration debate in the UK is as toxic and as nasty as it is over here, and our opponents, the Conservatives, like your opponents, the Republicans, really demonise migrants, do dog whistle politics, suggesting that a Labour government or a Democrat administration will let migrants in, will not have a tough, will not bring security to the borders, it will be unfair, and all that kind of stuff. We dealt with that by having a clear policy on immigration that, we accepted and understood that people want fairness at our borders. We didn't play into the demonising of immigrants, of course not, but we wanted a fair policy at our borders, and that was really important for us. The third thing in the UK to keep in touch with working class voters is healthcare. We're very proud of our what we call our National Health Service in the United Kingdom. We have free healthcare. We led the world on that 70, 80 years ago. The Conservatives have really ran it down. Conservatives don't really believe in healthcare in our country. They've run it down, and people have been waiting longer and longer and longer to get to get surgery or get an appointment to see their local family doctor. So we really focus on a plan to fix healthcare as well. So cost of living, having a fair policy and not running away from the debate on immigration, taking it on, but reassuring people you had a policy on it to deal with the issues at the border, and having a plan for healthcare. That is how we won and how we showed we were in touch with working class voters.
Awesome. Will, so you are paying attention to working class issues globally and movements. What have you seen beyond the U.S. Borders that you think will have a huge impact on this election in November?
Well, what strikes us is the parallels between the challenges that all these center-left parties are facing all across the transatlantic world. We have a deeply alienated working class that's in revolt against establishment elites, really on both parties, because Trump is a revolutionary of sorts for Republicans. And so, in France, we saw the far right rack up the biggest gains in recent elections. The Reform Party, which is to the right of the Tories in Britain, also gained at the Tories' expense in this election that Labour won. So we're seeing the populist right still rising. And what is critical from our point of view is that we learn from these great successes, and we've had a wonderful relationship and dialogue with Labour since Keir Starmer took over, because we wanted to see how they were going to do it. What you win back 35 or 36 of the red wall districts that you lost, all working class districts, and we have a similar challenge. Democrats are great on the north side of the diploma divide. That is, all the people in this country that have a 4-year degree or better. We're winning those voters in increasing percentages, numbers, but we're losing on the south side. We're losing among non-college voters. And that unbalances our party in two ways. One, it just keeps us too small. We need to be a bigger party to compete all across the country. Why are we so non-competitive in vast swaths of red America? That's crazy. We can change that with a concerted strategy. But it's also a matter, really, of the party's soul, right? Who do we represent? Who do we fight for? It's always been the working middle class of America. And when you stand for this class, this is a class that brings social stability, that stands for ordered progress, that stands for inclusion and pluralism. But we've let it fall apart. We've lost the bottom of that coalition. We got to get it back.
I want to talk a bit about the recent victory that the Labour Party had. Was there a moment, like a critical decision that was made that you think switched the game and made you move in the direction of victory?
I'm sure Jonathan's got. I hope we've got a similar-ish answer, but maybe different answers might rhyme. Keir Starmer made it absolutely clear, and we have a prosecutor in Keir Starmer, and that's an interesting parallel and an important thread that runs through his leadership. That crime, law and order is absolutely central to the stability and safety of working class voters. But Keir Starmer made it absolutely clear that he was going to put country before party. He made it absolutely clear that he was going to put achieving power beyond being a party of protest, and he made it absolutely clear that he would take difficult decisions. So there were many difficult decisions along the way that needed to demonstrate the character, his character as leader, and the character of the Labour government. And just not to dodge your question, but just to say that in the first days of the new Labour government, we were challenged with riots and disorder on our streets. And he has demonstrated that conviction, that strength of character to deal with those riots, to end the chaos. Because we campaigned on the basis that the Conservative government was creating chaos, which, again, speaking to those safety and security concerns of working class voters, they wanted an end to the chaos. And there could be nothing more visceral, more vivid in terms of illustrating that when there's riots in working class communities. So that strength and clarity and conviction was absolutely key.
I mean, that's absolutely right. I mean, we're the experts in the UK at losing elections in the Labour Party. I mean, if you look at our history, we are probably one of the least successful progressive parties in the Western world, frankly. Yeah. I mean, since the Second World War, I mean, Keir Starmer is only the what we had. We had Clement Attlee in '45, Harold Wilson in the '60s, Tony Blair, and Keir Starmer. He's only the fourth guy to take us into government since the war. I mean, that's crazy when you think about it. I mean, how many presidents have you had? How many Democratic presidents have you had since 1945? Somebody can shout out, I don't know. But you've had more than four, yeah? Yeah, you've had more than four, right? So that tells you a bit about how, and why do we lose, right? Why does the Labour Party lose? Because people sometimes don't trust us with the money and the economy. In recent years, they've come not to trust us on immigration. They think we're the guys whose heart is in the right place. They want to stand up for the poor. They want to stand up for the homeless. They want to stand up for people who've come to the country and who are in very vulnerable circumstances. But, yeah, they want to put up your tax to pay for all these things. So we had to do a few things. We had to show that we could be competent on the economy. We were helped that the Conservatives gave us a crazy Prime Minister called Liz Truss for a month, who absolutely crashed the UK economy, so that helped us. But we had to reassure people that we could be trusted on the economy and we wouldn't be whacking up tax on working people. And that meant we had to take some tough decisions. That meant we had to say to our base, we're not going to do all the things that you want. We're not going to be able to do all the things to change Britain after 14 years of the Conservatives. We're sorry, but we had to reassure people we could be trusted on the economy. Again, we had to be trusted on immigration, which is why we had a clear policy to deal with the problems that we've got at our borders on the English coast. And when we said we wanted to fix the NHS, it had to be realistic and believable. So actually, our policies for the NHS were they're quite small actually, but the fact that they were small came across as more credible. If we'd made big outlandish policies, people would have thought they're going to put up your tax again. But here's the crucial thing as well: you have to own a sense of the future. You have to look like you're the guys who have you know what's coming down the track, and you own that, and you can speak to that, and you speak to that with an authority. So we own the future. We weren't harking back to the past. I just want to make one word of warning for you all, though. And your electoral setup is different to ours. This might not be relevant in every bit of the states, but I think it could be relevant in Michigan, right? Those of you who Google me after this, you'll think, who is this phony when you Google me? Because I'm sat here lecturing you all about how to win an elections. I lost my own race. I'm supposed to be sat here as a member of Prime Minister Starmer's cabinet. I'm not sat here as a member of Prime Minister Starmer's cabinet. I'm here as a Labour strategist because I worked on our national general election campaign and every day was working on that while I lost my own race. Why did I lose my own race? Over Gaza. Yeah? combination of, in my constituency, Muslim voters. I had a very big Muslim population, and a lot of urban liberal voters turned against Labour. Only in a handful of districts, but nonetheless, in districts which should have been considered bankers for the Labour Party, we lost. Now, my hunch is that over here, people will want to come out to stop Trump. But I just think you have to have at your back of your mind, is the Gaza issue going to be a problem with some of your urban liberal voters? Will they stay at home? And how do you mobilise them? I think in the end, stopping Trump will mobilise them. But it was a bigger problem in the UK than we anticipated. And I am the living proof of that, because I am sat here no longer as a member of parliament, but as a strategist. So that is just something I think you guys just need to take into account and think about.
Well, we're glad you're here, but we are out of time. And I want to express my appreciation for your support for this event and for coming to share your thoughts with all of us. Thank you.
Pleasure.